I have had the benefit of working in an industry that does a lot of training. I've been blessed to attend many courses over the years. In the past week alone, I've completed 4, 1 in class and 3 online. Firstly, according to the Multiple Intelligences Self-Assessment, I am an intrapersonal learner. The primary controlling factor in effective learning for me relates to relevance. 2 of this week's courses were around trade practices and privacy. They delivered material that was in no way relevant to my current role, nor one that I would aspire to. They were deemed mandatory by a lawyer in Detroit. I passed, but if you were to ask me a question, only 3 days later, I am absolutely sure I would have no idea of a correct answer. Another thing that I can say with absolute certainty is that the effectiveness of my learning is directly related to the delivery of the material. I completed 2 courses on diversity this week, one in class and the other online. The classroom delivery was from a guy out the front talking through a PowerPoint presentation to a room of people who were only there because they were instructed to be. It was not in any way a positive experience, especially given the fact that I had already done the online version earlier in the week. This leads into another requirement for effective education, the learning environment. If this is right, you are far more likely to succeed. I performed much better when I could operate in a controlled and comfortable environment, at my desk, in a quiet location, at a time that suited me. It was further validation of why I generally prefer to study alone. I believe that essentially there are 2 reasons for learning. There is stuff that you want to know, and then there is stuff that you have to know. At some stage, people need to understand that if they shove a fork into an electrical socket, things won't end well. The danger there is not obvious, like standing at the top of a cliff and thinking, I wonder what would happen if I jumped. Although we all have a level of instinctive knowledge, there are life lessons that will have to be taught. I have always held a simple philosophy when it comes to teaching our boys. Learning should be an enjoyable experience. It's a lot easier to get them engaged if they recognise that they may get something nice out of it. Pavlov managed to get dogs to drool on command through behavioural conditioning. Maybe we can keep the boys interested if they truly believe that it will be fun. Don't get me wrong, I know that there are some lessons in life that are not going to blow your socks off. Let's face it, learning how to iron a shirt without putting in 11 creases is not an easy sell. There are, unfortunately, those lessons where you are simply going to need to suck it up and accept that you have to know this stuff. It is either that, or you're going to have to look like you just rolled out of bed every day of your life. This is an account of my boys, aged 12 and 9. Simple creatures with simple needs. Our Saturday mornings start like clockwork. They wake up and wander into the lounge. Eventually they organise breakfast, make their beds and get dressed. It's at this point they'll come to me with, Dad, can we play some video games? Over the past couple of years, they've learned that getting their chores done results in reward. Skinner believed that most behaviour would be repeated if positively reinforced, and my 2 certainly are testimony to that theory. They both love video games. Jackson, the 12-year-old, is a real fan of the multi-level varieties. His current favourite is Rayman Legends, essentially a hero figure working his way through a series of levels in an effort to defeat the villain. It's not too dissimilar to many of the other games he plays, where you need to complete one series of puzzles before you can move on to the next. This falls in line with Piaget's theory of development, which states that we learn in stages and we must reach a level of development before we can be ready to move on to the next. My youngest, Zachary, is more of a Lego Batman 3 fan. The game is slightly different where it allows him to operate without any time pressures. He is not as developed as his older brother, and whenever they play multi-screen action games together, it rarely ends well. They like to explore at their own pace, and know that even though they both may be doing the same activity, operating on different levels doesn't always work well. Gardner understood this when he recognised that everyone has their own learning style and pace. At some point though, they're going to feel the need to communicate with each other. They move on to Minecraft. This is a multiplayer game where you work together to create worlds out of blocks. It is sometimes all-consuming, where their little minds meld together as they work away, building and exploring. It's moments like these, as a parent, when you're grateful that some learning is, as Vygotsky stated, a truly social experience. Otherwise they might not speak to each other till lunch. Eventually my beloved will insist on them leaving the couch. Put on your shoes before you go outside. This amazes me. Jackson learned to tie his shoelaces at around 6. Zachary, almost 4 years older, still can't or won't get it right. I have seen him smile right before he asks his mum for help. Personally, I just think that he doesn't believe that he needs to learn how when you could just buy him Velcro shoes. There's an easy option, so why bother learning? I have a small yard with little room to run, so we invested in a trampoline. I love watching these two in action. Their skills have developed significantly past mine, to the stage where they can now both comfortably backflip. They are proof that Watson had it right when he said that fear is learned and not inherited. I am terrified at the thought of an inverted manoeuvre. I have no idea why they learned to. I blame television. Some say the greatest teacher of all.